Hello everyone, I am Sammy, your devoted manga otaku, and welcome to my manga space. Today I will be discussing all the manga I read in both December and January. I didn't end up reading much in December because I was super busy with the holidays, so I thought I'd just combine my wrap-ups. I'm really excited to share what I've been reading, so I invite you to grab a coffee or other beverage of your choice and let's talk manga. The first series that I want to talk about today is actually one that I read online. I was going to cancel my Crunchyroll subscription because my sister and I finished Fruits Basket, but then I discovered that you can actually read manga online with your subscription. So I decided to read a manga that I missed out on collecting and is now unfortunately out of print, and that's Scum's Wish by Mengo Yokoyari. There are technically 9 volumes in this dramatic story, and it revolves around 2 high school students, Hanabi and Muki, who appear to be in an ideal relationship to their classmates. However, these two share a dark secret unknown to outsiders. Muki is in love with his music teacher, and Hanabi is in love with her homeroom teacher. Both characters agree to use each other as substitutes sexually and emotionally in order to soothe their loneliness and satisfy their desires. It took a couple days after reading Scum's Wish for me to decide how I felt about it, but ultimately I've decided that I like it, especially after discovering and reading the add-on volume called Scum's Wish Decor. I don't think 7 Seas ever published this volume, but it's available on Crunchyroll, and I highly recommend you read it if you decide to read this series. As someone who didn't particularly like the ending of Scum's Wish, this volume, which is set in the future, adds a bunch of meaningful storyline and character development that left me feeling satisfied. With all that said, it's hard to say that I enjoyed reading Scum's Wish. Throughout the story, I felt angry, disgusted, and even sad. It's a messy series with frustrating and toxic characters who are constantly making poor choices. But that's also what makes the characters and the storyline realistic. There's an overall dark tone to the story as it explores the main theme of the series, which is unrequited love. The story features multiple love triangles, with most of the characters choosing to be in unhealthy relationships because they're obsessed with things they can never obtain. I can't say that I related to everything that the characters were going through, but I was a teenager once. I've had my fair share of terrible relationships, and I think this series depicted some realistic hardships that people go through. As for the characters, they were all pretty scummy and selfish, but that's obviously the point. I was impressed with the character development and the maturity of the leads by the end of the story. I really liked some of the side characters, but I felt like some of them should have been omitted. They were unnecessary, and I felt like they bogged the story down. Also, there is one individual who's extremely problematic, but they really love that part of themselves, so they feed into it. I was unhappy with how their story ended, but after reading the bonus volume that I spoke of earlier, I'm not as disappointed. I think they deserved harsher consequences, but we do get to see some growth and development from this character in those extra chapters, so that's something at least. I think that the art is well done. It's nothing special, but it does look good. Also, there are some semi-explicit sex scenes throughout the series, just FYI. Honestly, I think liking this manga will come down to your tastes. I personally like the rawness and honesty of the story, and I like the dark topics explored. I never felt bored reading this, and I found the premise was quite unique. I'm giving the entire series 3.75 stars. It's not a perfect manga by any means, it definitely has flaws, but it wasn't bad. This isn't something that I would go out of my way to collect, but if I saw the whole collection for sale, I would probably buy it. If you've read Scum's Wish, I'd love to know your thoughts. There's a whole spectrum of ratings for this series, so I'm really curious in hearing what you think. The second series I want to talk about is volumes 1 through 3 of the Kodansha publication Night of the Ice by Yayoi Ogawa. I can't confirm this, but I believe this series is completed in Japan at 11 volumes, with 8 volumes currently available in English. This figure skating rom-com follows 23-year-old Chitose, a career woman who's following her passion by working for a health and lifestyle magazine. However, she's constantly being distracted by her second job as a motivational speaker for her childhood friend and international figure skating star, Kokoro. But not just any motivational, inspirational speech will give Kokoro the encouragement and confidence needed to skate his best. She must recite a spell from his favorite magical girl anime. I didn't go into this series with many expectations, but it turned out to be pretty adorable. From the synopsis, I thought the narrative and the characters were going to be sillier, but I think it's more endearing and serious than it is funny. I'll be honest, I'm not really invested in the figure skating or the competitions, but that's just a personal quirk of mine. I'm not really a sports person. The only sports that I watch are the Winter Olympics. Besides the sports elements of the story, there's a lovely romance between Chitose and Kokoro. I think these two make a very cute couple. I wish that the pacing of their relationship moved a little faster, but it's been mentioned multiple times that both characters are inexperienced and innocent when it comes to romance, so I doubt it'll move any quicker. From the ending of the third volume, I worry that the series is going to fall prey to some predictable conflicts, some predictable misunderstandings and drama. What I really want is for this manga to surprise me. Thankfully, I purchased the rest of the volumes, so I should know soon enough. Reading a fresh Ogawa sensei series was entertaining. Her art style and storytelling is unique, and it made me nostalgic since I grew up reading Tramps Like Us. Also, I appreciated the Tramps Like Us Easter eggs that Ogawa sensei threw into the story. I felt like she was having some fun with her fans. Speaking of fun, one of the characters in Night of the Ice is a manga creator who, although is heavily disguised, is quite obviously Ogawa sensei, and I thought that was really cool. I know that if I wrote manga, I would 100% write myself into the story somehow. I'm really fond of both main characters in the series. I think Chitose is a really interesting female lead. As a child, she was very sickly, which is why she values fitness and nutrition so much. Her illness also stunted her growth, and even though she acts like comments about her height don't bother her, she's actually super insecure about how she looks. Kokoro's personality surprised me a little bit. I thought he was going to be this loud and bubbly otaku, but instead he's very mopey and quiet. I actually prefer this personality type more though. There's just something very attractive about a sweet, nerdy boy drawing magical girls on his tablet. I think that the side characters are a lot of fun, especially Kokoro's manager, Moriyama. Even though Kokoro's quietness is partially due to her insufferableness. She's blunt, insensitive, and overall ruthless when it comes to Kokoro doing well in competitions. For a while, I wasn't sure if I liked her or not, but I'm starting to think that under her mean exterior, there's actually a really caring person on the inside. One last thing before wrapping things up, I really liked that one of Kokoro's main competitors is Canadian. and I hope he's a reoccurring character. You don't see much Canadian representation in manga. So far, this series gets 4 stars from me. I'm really enjoying it, and although the storyline is a little predictable, I think the overall premise is super cute and unique. I can't wait to read the rest of the volumes. Now, I want to quickly talk about one of my reading goals for 2022, which is to read the entire Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon Eternal Edition collection, including the Codename Sailor V series, all of which is created by the crazy talented Naoko Takeuchi. In total, there are 12 volumes, so my goal is to read one a month, starting with volume 1 of Codename Sailor V. Apparently, Takeuchi-sensei wrote a chapter of Codename Sailor V way back in 1991 and was offered an opportunity to turn it into an anime, but there was a catch. The animation company wanted multiple magical girls in the story. Takeuchi-sensei responded by modifying Sailor V and making her part of a team, which spawned the creation of Sailor Moon. Codename Sailor V takes place a year before Sailor Moon and follows a girl named Minako. She's a typical 13-year-old girl until meeting a mysterious cat named Artemis, who claims that Minako is Sailor Venus, a beautiful guardian destined to protect Earth. With the help of Artemis, Minako becomes the vigilante Sailor V and uses her powers to fight crime. When I started this manga, I was really excited because I don't know a whole lot about Sailor Moon. I grew up watching the 90s anime, so I know the basics, but diving into the Sailor Moon story and the Sailor Moon lore has always been a dream of mine, and now my journey has officially started. Even with my basic knowledge of Sailor Moon, I could tell almost immediately that Minako was a prototype of Usagi. She shares many of Usagi's personality traits and characteristics. Even her parents and classmates are somewhat carbon copies of Usagi's. Minako even has a magical pen that allows her to disguise herself, and she has a crescent moon-shaped compact that is powered by moonlight. Seeing all of the similarities that influenced and inspired Usagi and Sailor Moon, and then later seeing cameos of the other Sailor Senshi, was a whole lot of fun. I loved it. A couple things you have to take into consideration while reading this, though, is that it was originally released in chapters. So the story is quite episodic and the characters are constantly being reintroduced, which can be annoying, but is completely understandable. The villains are also very vague. They have one goal, and that's to take over the world. The whole manga is pretty simple and silly, but it still holds that classic Sailor Moon charm. Minako is a fun character. She's athletic, energetic, and determined, and I liked that she physically fights bad guys, unlike Usagi, who just cries a lot in the beginning of her adventure. I don't know a lot about Sailor Venus in the Sailor Moon series. She was my least favorite Sailor Guardian, but I think that was partially due to the fact that I knew very little about her. I believe Minako is a lot more mature in the Sailor Moon universe than in this prequel, but if she's been fighting evil a year longer than the other girls, it makes sense that she'd be more mature and more experienced by the time she's introduced in Sailor Moon. The art is a little wonky at times. It isn't refined in some places, but it's still full of that older shoujo charm. Plus, this release includes high-quality glossy paper and drop-dead, gorgeous, full-color pages, which just make the whole experience of reading this a visual treat. It's just so beautiful. I'm so thankful that Kodansha took the time and the effort to make these Eternal editions. And the whole book is just littered with these full color pages. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. In conclusion, if you aren't a Sailor Moon fan or a completionist, I would pass on this because I feel like you won't really get anything from it and it won't do anything for you. The story doesn't have anything substantial. What's fun about this series is seeing all the Easter eggs and connecting all the dots to the original story. As a Sailor Moon fan, I'm giving this series 4 stars, and I can't wait to continue Sailor V's adventures next month. From my understanding, there are even more references to Sailor Moon in Volume 2. The rest of the manga in this wrap-up are all 5 stars, and there are a few of them. I didn't read as much as I wanted to, or as I would have liked this last couple months, but quality over quantity. Am I right? The first 5-star read that I want to talk about is Volume 7 of Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Oshimi. I've raved about this series quite a bit on this channel. It's probably my favorite horror manga. Essentially, it's a psychological horror following an overprotective mother and her son. The less you know about this series, the better when it comes to the story, but just know that it's full of terrifying and disturbing twists and turns that'll shock and horrify you. This volume was pretty uneventful when compared to other installments in the series, but I feel like it represents a calm before the storm, as the cliffhanger was pretty intense. These volumes are very quick reads. I can easily devour one of these in under 20 minutes, and they are extremely addictive, so make sure you have a couple volumes on hand before beginning the series. Okay, time to talk about something a little happier. I read volumes 10 and 11 of Sweat and Soap by Kintetsu Yamada, and it was beautiful. The finale was everything I ever wanted for Kotaro and Asako. The wedding was spectacular. I loved following Asako and Kotaro as they planned their wedding day, and then seeing it all come to fruition was the cherry on top of the sundae. The ceremony was filled with so much warmth and joy. I loved seeing them interact with all of their guests, and it was a treat to see all the different wedding festivities. I loved getting some insight into what a Japanese wedding might look like. It was super fun and interesting. The scene with Kotaro's mom made me cry. It was so beautiful. Also, the bonus ending with the little time skip was absolutely wonderful. I'm really glad we get to see our couple settled after their wedding. Sweat and Soap started off a little weird, but it quickly developed into this fantastic example of a romance built on healthy communication, love, and support. Watching these lovely characters navigate and overcome realistic barriers and obstacles was so refreshing. It was amazing watching them grow, and I just love them so much. I'm really going to miss these lovebirds. I don't want to say goodbye, but I feel like this story is ending where it's supposed to. Nothing feels drawn out or incomplete. I highly recommend Sweat and Soap to anyone wanting to explore a relatable, realistic, low drama, feel-good romance filled with sweet and goofy characters that'll just steal your heart and embrace you in a warm hug. This is probably one of the best romance manga I've ever read, and it has certainly raised my expectations for future romances. I'm very impressed, and I look forward to reading whatever Yamada Sensei releases in the future. Up next, I need to talk about the ongoing series, Queen's Quality by Kyousuke Motomi. I read QQ Sweeper, the prequel series, back in May 2021, and if you're interested in hearing my spoiler-free review, I'll leave a card on the screen and link in the description to my May wrap-up. But long story short, I gave it 5 stars. Now, I'm not sure why it's taken me this long to get to Queen's Quality, but I'm here now. and I've really been enjoying it. I actually reread the prequel before diving into this manga in order to have the full experience, and I'm glad I did because the prequel flows seamlessly into Queen's Quality, and it starts directly where QQ Sweeper ends. Essentially, the narrative follows a high school girl named Fumi Nishioka, who befriends a cleaner named Kyu Horikata. After accidentally discovering his family's secret, they are sweepers. Sweepers help people in the physical world by cleaning their homes and environment, but their primary goal is to protect the doors leading into people's subconscious and to eradicate foul and evil spirits festering in people's minds. After showing promise as a sweeper, Fumi ends up moving into the Horikita household as a live-in housekeeper and assists Kyu on sweeper missions. Building off of the revelations from the last volume of QQ Sweeper, Queen's Quality begins to unravel some of the mystery surrounding the main protagonist, Fumi. From the beginning, not much is known about Fumi, so it's exciting to learn more about her character as the pieces of her past slowly fall into place. The world building is a whole lot of fun as well. Learning about the sweeper legends is interesting, and I've enjoyed delving into the lore of the different sweeper clans. I like that they all have different views and values, as well as different techniques to cleanse harmful spirits. Additionally, I liked that Kyu's family tree is being fleshed out more, and we are introduced to more members of his clan. I think that the villains are interesting and complicated. They have reasons for their actions, and I find myself wanting to understand their motives. Also, I really like that this manga isn't afraid to explore darker themes like mental illness, depression, and bullying. However, my favorite aspect of this series continues to be the romance between Kyu and Fumi. I can't get over how cute these characters are together. They have loads of chemistry, and the pacing of their relationship is so good. It isn't taking 10 plus volumes for these characters to recognize their feelings, and I appreciate that. As for my thoughts on the characters, they haven't changed much. Fumi is a strong female lead. She's spunky, a bit of a goofball, brave, and self-sufficient to a fault. I like that she doesn't fall into the bubbly and annoying shoujo heroine category. Also, I love that she pretends to be a princess when she's faced with difficult dilemmas. She asks herself, what would a princess do? And it brings out this graceful side of her character that I just love. Kyu continues to be a wonderful love interest. He's supportive, caring, and is always striving to become a better, more mature partner. He's also super relatable, and I really sympathize with him in his moments of social awkwardness. It's rough out there. The art in this series is well done, and it matches the theme that the scene requires. For example, the creepy monsters are scary and disturbing, while the romantic parts are soft and sweet. Overall, the manga encompasses a bunch of different themes and genres. You have prevalent supernatural elements, you have action scenes, horror-esque monsters, and an exciting romance, all strung together by an intriguing mystery. Also, this manga is great at keeping things light and fun with humor. I chuckled multiple times throughout. I really love these manga that tread the line of shonen and shoujo, and Motomi sensei does a great job at keeping everything balanced. I'm really looking forward to continuing this story. And then we have volume 4 of the shoujo romance, A Sign of Affection by Morishita. This is a beautiful, tender love story focusing on the relationship between a young woman named Yuki, who has been born with a hearing disability, and a well-traveled guy named Itsuomi, who has an affinity for learning languages. In the last volume, Yuki continued to teach Itsuomi sign language, and their friends began getting glimpses of the sparks flying between the couple. In this volume, we get to see Itsuomi open up to Yuki more, we learn more about him, and get to meet some of his friends. I really enjoyed how Itsuomi focused this volume was because he is such a mysterious character. I also loved how much effort he puts into this relationship with Yuki. He's respectful when it comes to boundaries, and he's always considerate about her comfort level and how she's feeling. He's such a charismatic and charming character. I love him so much. I feel like there might be a little rivalry in the next volume, but it ended on a funny note, and everything up to this point has been depicted realistically, so I doubt this new conflict will be overly dramatic or over the top, and that's what makes this series so great. It's a very pure and mature story. The artwork is consistent, it's gorgeous and soft, and now that Itsuomi is getting better at signing, we get to see more sign language. This manga continues to portray the sweetest and cutest romance ever, and I can't wait to see what happens next. And last but not least, we need to talk about volumes 8 and 9 of Living Room Matsunaga-san by Keiko Iwashita. I can't remember the last time I sobbed happy tears. Just being so overwhelmed with happiness that it just spills out everywhere. That's what these volumes did to me. I have to be cryptic here because of spoilers, but I was so surprised by the big thing that happens in this volume. Now looking back, it was hinted at multiple times, and I think it helps move the plot forward, but it's still very bittersweet. I loved seeing things from June's perspective at the beginning of volume 9. We get a better idea of his feelings and thoughts, and my heart couldn't take the overabundance of adorableness. I know I say this all the time, but I just love June so much. We got a look at a possible side romance, and I'm super invested in seeing how that pans out. Also, one of the love interests is given some advice, and it wasn't the best advice given the situation. I'm very curious if this person will act on it in the next volume. Lastly, the bonus appearances by Miko's uncle were hilarious, and I could not contain my laughter. We are nearing the end of the story. There are only 2 volumes left, but I'm truly loving this adventure, and I adore how everything is shaping up. Also, I've decided that I want a Ryo spin-off series. So, if Iwashita Sensei could give us that, please. Maybe it can fill the void that Living Room Matsunaga-san is going to leave behind when it's complete. I'm so impressed that every new volume of Living Room Matsunaga-san becomes the best thing I've ever read. It just keeps getting cuter and cuter with every installment. Please, please, please check this out if you haven't yet. It's definitely worth your time. And with that, we have come to the end of this manga wrap-up. I'd love to know what you guys have been reading lately. Has your reading been good? Has it been bad? Let me know in the comment section. If you're interested in watching more videos from me, you can check out my end card where I'll have links to my most recent videos. I hope you all have a manga-nificent day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!